I got one question. Whose car is that in the garage?
The guy lives behind me, the guy from Afghanistan.
Wow.
Go look at it. Cool.
I did. I couldn't find the bike, so I'll do it
Yeah.
later.
Okay, let me double check some stuff here.
Okay, we're leaving. right?
Yeah,
Okay,
see you later.
thank you guys so much.
You're
Be
so
careful
welcome.
out there. I'll go for a bike ride when I get some air in my tire,
Okay,
okay?
Libby, we are officially live. Hello, Benjamin, watching us in Germany. Thank you so much for getting settled in here.
Okay.
And welcome everybody to another episode of Hollywood Kitchen. I want to start off the episode by giving a special thank you to Michelle Sebastian Price, my TCM friend, for suggesting this episode and introducing me to our guest, Libby Pittman, who's going to share her recollections and memories of knowing Gene Tierney. So Libby, thank you for joining me today.
Oh, this will be fun. It's my childhood almost.
Yes, so we're going to start off with talking, I'm just going to do a 101 on Gene Tierney, because sometimes I will get people that watch Hollywood Kitchen and they say, well, you know, I don't always know who the stars are. Exactly, we're going to look at a lot of stuff. So just to let everybody know, okay, Gene Tierney started out on the stage, became a star on Broadway, was signed to a contract at 20th Century Fox. And I'm a big film noir junkie, so she would go on to make a ton of incredible film noir, including Laura, Leave Her to Heaven, Night in the City, Whirlpool, and Where the Sidewalk Ends. She also made a variety of films in other genres too, including the beautiful love story, The Ghost in Mrs. Muir, and so many other films like Razor's Edge. And she was married to fashion designer Oleg Cassini. She was then later married to oil tycoon Howard Lee. She wrote an autobiography that we're going to talk about. And many people consider Gene one of the most beautiful actresses of Hollywood's golden age. And I love her so much. And it's a real honor to get to meet Libby here. So I'd like to start off, if we can, with some of the food discussion. Because once I've made the food, I usually feel a little bit more relaxed for some reason, and then I can have a better, more focused conversation. So, Libby, I want to ask, since you knew Gene personally, did Gene cook?
She cooked a few things when her daughter was in town, and Howard and her had a kitchen, and they had like a patio home when I knew her. And I didn't really, you know, I was in the genre of the children. And so we didn't eat at her house, but except for lunch ever. I never had anything but lunch there, but I don't know her to be a cook, but I wouldn't doubt it.
Well, it's funny because when I originally set out to do this episode, there is a Gene Tierney cheesecake recipe. It was printed in a cookbook in the 1950s, and it was reprinted by my friends in the UK who did Silver Screen Suppers, Supper with the Stars and Vincent Price. And I was going to make that, except the version of the cheesecake Gene Tierney had a recipe for required the use of an oven. If I use that oven over there, my entire apartment will be 350 degrees. And considering the soaring temperatures in Los Angeles even now, it didn't seem like the right thing to do to use my oven. But you know what I found out? Starkist Tuna did an entire series of celebrity tuna fish ads and recipes. Go figure, in the early 1950s. And they featured a variety of stars, including Bob Hope, Bing Crosby, John Wayne, Maureen O'Hara, Barbara Stanwyck, Fred McMurray, and Gene Tierney. So I actually found this ad that was ripped out of a 1951 magazine.
Oh my goodness.
And it is a Gene Tierney's recipe for tuna salad royale. And I thought, well, that doesn't require a stove. So maybe that's what we'll do. So we're going to go ahead and make this first off the bat. So I did get Starkist tuna. So to be completely accurate to the recipe, yes, I got Starkist tuna.
Looks so familiar.
Sure. have a bowl of it right here, 1 can of this. We're gonna put in the bowl. Okay. And then it says 2 tablespoons of chopped sweet pickle. I went with dill just because I'm much more of a dill pickle person, but okay, so we're 2 tablespoons. Okay. 1/2 cup of chopped celery.
Sure.
I saved the boring stuff before we went on camera, so I already chopped it. That in there. Okay, it said very specifically to use Kraft mayonnaise. I was not able to find Kraft brand mayonnaise, so I hope Gene doesn't mind. I'm going to use Best Foods mayonnaise, which has been around since 1913, so
Yes.
it's got some credibility, I think. Okay, and it says 1/4 cup, so I'm going to kind of eyeball that here. Stir this up really well. And also it says toss together with lemon juice, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice.
Whoa, yeah.
So mixing the tuna fish, the pickles, the mayonnaise, the celery, and the lemon juice. Now the recipe, I love it when they show pictures of recipes because sometimes in some of these cookbooks, they'll list the recipe, but they don't show a photo, which leaves somebody like me who's trying to figure it out as they go along a little bit confused because you think, well, geez, what is this supposed to look like? Gene left me a photo. So it's kind of a triple decker situation, if you will. You basically have the bottom part of the tomato, the center part of the tomato, and the top part of the tomato.
Oh, yes.
So what we're gonna do is there's probably gonna be a lot of tuna left over here. That's okay. All right, we're gonna put it on the bottom, like so. The center. And then the top plate. I hope this does not fall over.
Ooh, that's so pretty. Look at that.
Pretty. I could see this at a really elegant like garden party or like ladies' tea or something like that. Okay, I'm gonna put a big toothpick in it and here you go.
How beautiful.
Gene Tierney's tuna salad. All right. Hope it doesn't fall over again. Okay. So getting into the discussion, tell us, Libby, how you first met Gene Tierney.
Well, I grew up in Houston, and my mother was a dressmaker from the time she was probably in college. She just loved fabrics, and she sewed and created clothes and things. And then she was in St. Louis, and then she moved to Houston. And Gene had gone to a luncheon at Allie Mitchell's house. They were big oil people or something. They were old. Their sister was good friends with my mother. And Gene went over to this lady and said, "Where did you get that suit?" And Allie Mitchell said to her, "I'm not telling you." So she said, and Gene pulled it out of her. She said, "Connie, you have to go find Connie." And she found my mother, and she was wonderful. My mother hurt her hand one time and had it. Gene came over, and Mom did she had the cutting boards and everything. And Gene did all the handwork for several of the clothes because they were more detailed, see, and my mother's finger was hurt. And so mother could do the fabrics and everything. And Gene came and sat and would do the little handwork things. So she was a good friend, and she had married Howard Lee, and she had been married to Ole Cassini, and they had 2 daughters. Do you know about this story? She had.
We'll talk about this because for those of you who don't know, Gene married fashion designer Ole Cassini, and her father did not want them to get married, so it was kind of against his wishes, and they got married anyway. And they had a daughter, and their first daughter, for those who don't know the story, should I go ahead and tell the story?
Oh, sure, yes.
For those who don't know the story, Gene was very active when World War II happened, and she was pregnant with her first daughter, and she went to, I believe it was the Hollywood Canteen. And shortly thereafter, she came down with German measles.
Mhm.
Now, this is the 40s. They didn't have quite the medical technology we have today. Doctors said she would be fine. She wasn't. Her first child was born profoundly, I'm not sure what the correct word is to use, with profound health issues and disability.
Uh-huh. Right.
And it broke Jean's heart and her spirit. And later, a female military personnel had come up to Jean and said, "I love you so much. I wanted to see you. I broke quarantine and I had the measles, so I could meet you."
Yeah.
So hearing firsthand from the person who basically gave Jean the illness that
Yeah.
destroyed her child's life was very, very devastating for Jean. And she just kind of never recovered from that. She did have a second, the first daughter was Daria, right?
Daria. Uh-huh.
Okay, and the second daughter was Tina,
Tina.
and
Mhm.
everything. And so that put a lot of strain on their finances, I'm sure, a lot of strain on their marriage. And eventually they did get a divorce. And then she remarried the oil tycoon Howard Lee. Also in between, Jean at one point dated Howard Hughes, the millionaire aviator.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Yes.
And I think I've heard the story, correct me if I'm wrong, that Howard Hughes even reached out and offered to help find like the best doctors in the country.
Oh, he absolutely did. Yes. Yeah.
And then she also, for a time, dated Ali Khan after he had gotten his separation from Rita Hayworth. I can't imagine that guy's life. I mean, from Rita Hayworth to Gene Tierney, it's kind of like mind blowing. But she dated Ali Khan. I think that his father, the Aga, did not want him to date another actress and was very opposed to that.
Right.
And at one point, Gene dated JFK before he became president. So
That's right. And you know what? I heard her tell my mother once, she said he had an enormous ego. And I couldn't picture that get in my little mind. You know, she said he was very pretty and handsome, but he sort of had a big ego. And I thought, well, everybody she dated had a big ego, but she did comment on that to us as children when
I would think though, to be in that profession in general, you kind of have to have that type of personality.
Absolutely.
And then she seemed to be very happy when she married Howard. But we're going to backtrack a little bit to talk about Jean's career. Because when Jean made her debut, it was in, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the name, but it was in a Western with Henry Fonda.
Uh-huh.
And when she first saw her first on-screen appearance, she felt horrified. She felt like she sounded like Minnie Mouse or something. So Jean started smoking in order to lower her voice register. And she kind of learned about film acting on the job because she'd only had, Broadway experience and she was so young. But she picked up very quickly. And her beauty was so radiant that I, to this day, could watch Gene Tierney read the back of a box of cereal and be trained
I know.
by that, right? But
Yeah.
she went on to make a ton of really incredible movies. And I think a lot of stars, as I've talked about on Hollywood before, some of them get slotted. Like if they're super beautiful, people just see them as the glamour girl. It's kind of hard for people to look past that surface appearance and see more underneath. And I think it was Leave Her to Heaven that was Jean's sole Oscar nomination for Best Actress.
Yes, that rings a bell. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm happy.
And so she proved that not only was she stunningly beautiful, but she was a fantastic actress.
Yes.
And she worked with some of the top directors in her day too, including Otto Preminger and oh my gosh, I'm sorry, it is so hot in my kitchen. I'm just having such a hard time keeping it together here. But she worked with some of the top filmmakers. She co-starred opposite Victor Mature, opposite Tyrone Power, Clifton Webb, and she worked with some top name people, top name directors, and she held her own, and she really was a terrific dynamite actress. But it's funny though, because I think a lot of times in our society, people think, oh, well, if you're beautiful, if you're successful, if you're rich, if you're a movie star, your life must be perfect. And I think that is so far from the truth.
Yes.
Because I think Jean had a lot of struggles. And, I think her dad, from what I've read about her dad was very controlling. The dad spent a ton of her money early on. And then, you know, the marriage with Oleg Cassini did not work. He, I believe, cheated on her. Am I wrong? Correct me if I'm wrong about any of this.
About what?
About Oleg Cassini cheating on her.
Oh, yes, yes, that's what
And
I
I
heard.
think also she was having a lot of mental and emotional problems.
Yes,
And also having a child with disabilities that had to have been
Yes.
extraordinarily stressful. And at one point, Jean basically had a nervous breakdown in this really, really terrific autobiography she wrote called Self-Portrait.
oh, yes, I have it right here too, look.
Yay! But she talks about being
He
on
gave
the
this
ledge.
book to me when it came out, and it says to Libby, best wishes, love, Jean. But
Show us
she-
the inscription.
oh yes, okay, let's see, can you see it right there? It's backwards or something, isn't it?
No, I can see it.
Oh, good, okay. Yeah,
But she was actually walking out on the ledge of a building in New York. where
Yes.
She was having like a nervous breakdown.
uh-huh.
And did she spend time in the miniature clinic, I believe?
She did.
Yes.
And that's in the book, and that's what I remember. She said a few words. She used to sit with my mother in the sewing room because my mother was sewing or something, and I would listen. I could be in the room or I could be across the hall and things, and I would hear her talk. She talked. She had a lovely voice, and she liked to talk to my mom. Mom wasn't an actress. Mom was just a lovely person who loved fine fabric like she did.
Well, let me ask you, did Gene talk much about her Hollywood days?
Not to us as children. She talked to my mother a little bit about it, about things. Something would come up and she would do that. But I was a teenager and I was not home that much and things. And as Tina would come to town, because Tina lived with the dad, and Tina would come to town and spend part of Christmas and part of summer, Gene would call on my sister and I to just entertain her and do things with her. And so that way I heard her talk, and she talked to us a lot, but she talked about the sadness of having a breakdown. I thought that, yeah, as a young woman, that really surprised me because she seemed all together when I was, when I knew her, didn't seem the type or anything. So,
Well, there's the person I think that the public knows, and then there's the
mhm.
person behind closed doors. And
Yes.
those are two very, very different realities.
Yes.
So she talked to your mother about the Hollywood days.
She taught, yeah, they would sit, she would come and she loved to stop by. And it might not be about her clothes or anything, but it might be she's going to stop by and see Connie, our mother, when she broke her finger. She would sit there and they would talk all day. She would be doing the stitching. Mother would do the things that, not the little detailed thing. And she talked about, who did she say had the biggest ego? One of the actors, I can't remember who it was. Oh, I can't remember. It'll come to me. But they were good friends, and Mother had a different life than she did, but she loved to talk about it. It was sweet to hear her talk about the times she had in when she was younger and doing movies, and then even afterwards. So when she had the breakdown and everything. And Oleg lived in New York, and so the daughter, not the one that was downstream, but the other one, lived with him in New York and came to visit Gene for holidays because she liked the private school in New York, Tina. So that's how, when Tina came to town, my sister and I were on. We had to entertain her.
Yeah. And tell us about Daria. Did she have Daria in a facility, or how did she?
Daria was in a facility, but at some point, I remember, my sister might remember this more than I. There was a facility in Houston that she was in that I knew about, but she would take her home. They would take Daria home, and she would be with them for a while, and then she would go back if Gene couldn't handle it or whatever. I mean, she was around, not far away. Oleg liked both of the daughters to be with him in New York, and Tina lived with him and trained, she trained learning what he knew, design and stuff like that. And so when Tina came to town, Jean wanted Tina to be happy and have fun. So she had us girls over and we did whatever we do, shop at Sakowitz and Battlestein's.
What
Neiman's.
was Jean's favorite of her films?
Oh, you know, I can't remember her talk. I remember talking about the ones with Clark Gable. She talked about those a little, and she loved Tyrone Power. So they were just the best buddies, and she talked about him being somebody really close who was there for her.
Oh, but her favorite in terms of films, though, did she have?
I don't know if she ever told us kiddos which were her favorite films.
Do you ever watch them or screen them?
Oh God, yes, we would watch them on TV. They would, you can catch them now sometimes, and you can pull
Oh yeah,
them.
I have Turner Classic Movies. They show quite a
Yes,
bit.
yes, they show a lot of them. And in those days, we didn't have Turner Classic Movies, but they would come on anyway, or we would go to a friend's house who had all the channels and watch some. And we, as kids, we weren't focused on her as much as I got older. And when I was in college, and then when I was going to get married, he was a medical student at Baylor Med and lived in Houston. He was a medical student. We're not married anymore, but we're still best friends. And she wanted to be a part of it. She wanted to have a play in it, and she had a shower for me, a little shower. And it was just partly her kindness and how I used to think she'll do this for Tina someday, and things like that. And she did. Daria was in New York with Oleg for a while, but at one point she came to Houston for a while, but she had to have somebody there help her. They had a helper. So we would go over to the swimming pool, and it would be Tina and Daria and my sister and I, entertaining them and things. And so it was, I didn't think anything about it. It seemed like a fun afternoon all the time. And we always liked it when Jean came to our house because she was interested in what we were doing as girls.
Very cool. Well, what is your most favorite Gene Tierney movie?
Oh, Leave Her to Heaven. Is what's the one?
That's
That
it.
one. And God, I'm trying to think of the ones oh geez. Oh Lord. I haven't watched any in so long I can't remember, but I was trying to look here and see. I have my book here and see which ones I really I love the one with Clark Gable and Humphrey Bogart and Tyrone Power. She loved his eyes. Here's a picture of her with, oh, you got the book. This picture right here with her with Henry Fonda. My mother made that suit.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
Oh yeah. She made most of her clothes for anything she was going to do, but my mother loved classic suits and things like that because they were tailored. And so it made it, but she asked Mom to make her things from time to time, but she paid her, Mother didn't do them for free.
Well, she shouldn't have.
No, but when Tina made her debut in New York, but Debutante Ball, but Jean wanted her to have something in Houston, so they had a thing at the River Oaks Country Club and blah 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 blah. We went, and Mother made me a dress for it, which I still have. It's Empire, not a navy, but a beautiful dark wool wool crepe. And in the back it came, Empire, and then it came back, and in the back it closed, and there were these two rhinestone things, and it went straight down. So at the party, at the thing after the debutante thing, that when we were eating dinner and things, I walked over and said something to somebody, and then I saw Oleg, and he was at another table, and he came across the table and said, "I love your dress." I said, "My mother made it. My mother is Connie." He said, "Bless Connie." He said, "I tell you."
Must have had couture level skills.
Well, she started sewing when she was younger, and then she started sewing for fun as a young woman. And then as we grew older, as we moved to Houston, somebody found her, and they were just the Dr. DeBakey, the heart surgeon, his wife didn't know anything about clothes. Mother had to make everything for her. But there was a lot of, she loved it, and it paid for our Catholic schools.
Oh,
But I wanted to go to the other school, but she wouldn't let me.
I always wondered with women like Jean and Rita Hayworth for that matter. I think they were so incredibly beautiful, like hypnotically so.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
a lot of these men, they wanted to possess them, but
Mhm.
when they got with them, they kind of just didn't know what to do with them anymore, if that makes sense.
Wow.
They
Yeah.
saw
Yes,
them
it
as
does. Yeah.
spies or trophy of some kind.
Yes. Yeah.
You
That's
know,
true.
I saw an interview with Oleg and he said she was so beautiful, I wanted to possess her. He said that.
Yes. I saw that in her book sometime. I remember saying that. Oh my goodness, possess. That's tough.
You're a person, not a
Yeah.
object. That's got to be kind of a very difficult thing for people to
Uh-huh.
understand in some cases.
Sure.
And it seems like she was definitely drawn to very powerful, very dynamic, interesting people, for sure.
Yes. Handsome men. Howard Lee, the man she was married to, he was very handsome and very, but very kind, as I remember, because we would go over to she would grab my mother's kids up, and they would go over to his house to swim too. And he had been married to Hedy Lamarr, but
Okay, so another person that likes brilliant, interesting, dynamic people. So
yes, yeah, they were just, that was typical for Houston too.
But it sounds like that was actually a happier time in her life when she was
Yeah.
married to Howard Lee, not under pressure to work, and was kind of able to, I don't know, be yourself a little bit more. Do you think that, would you agree with that?
I do. I think Houston was very welcoming to her. It wasn't Hollywood, but it was, everybody welcomed her with open arms. And it was she said that to me once. She said, there's just such lovely people here. She was talking, I said, I know she was talking about Mom, but I knew the other people she was close to.
I love Hollywood very much, but it's a very rough place.
Yeah.
And it makes sense that she might have felt more comfortable elsewhere. There's quite a number of stars over the years that would live in other places and just come here with when they had to for work.
Yes. Yes. Oh, yeah.
That makes sense. Did Jean stay close throughout her life to Daria and Tina?
Daria died while I was younger, and I don't remember what caused it. I can't remember a whole lot about it, but I remember she was in a home. She didn't live with Gene, but she came for the weekends and things like that. And I think she was still really close to Tina, even though Tina lived in New York. She still spent part of the summer and some Christmases in Houston, but she still lived in New York, close to her daddy.
And I really like her autobiography. I think that it's very honest, which you don't always see autobiographies from stars, no less, with a lot of honesty. A lot of times I feel like there's a sense of glossing over things or
Right. Yeah.
omitting anything that is uncomfortable or unpleasant or not admitting to faults. And
right.
I found this to be surprisingly honest.
And
I thought that was
she wrote it with Mickey Herskowitz.
Yes.
And Mickey did autobiographies with a lot of people several people I knew in Houston that I had heard of that he helped. So he helped her write it. And that was maybe why it was so honest.
Okay. And let's see what people are asking us some questions online. See if we can let's see. Sorry, it takes a minute for these to load. Hello from Delaware. Oh, Self-Portrait has long been one of my most favorite memoirs. It's frank and well told. Lara Gabriel, yes, I agree. And Jean seemed to be loved by the camera. Benjamin, yes, this is absolutely true. Mom, thank you for watching. Jack Fields, greetings from Warner Brothers, where Jean made Close to My Heart.
Oh, wow.
Yes, this is true. Charlene is pointing out that Jean made Never Let Me Go with Clark Gable and Gene Tierney.
Yes.
Never Let Me Go. And Tina, Lara Gabriel's reminding me that Tina wrote a really beautiful statement when Daria died.
Oh, wow. I bet I have that somewhere. I haven't seen it. I'll look.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up. As
That's
well.
beautiful.
One reason, well, I mean, I can talk about it at length, but one thing that I think is so incredible about Gene is looking past the beauty, which again, that's kind of hard to get past, but maybe
Right.
is there's something kind of mysterious about her, which just makes sense why she made so many film noir, including Laura and Leave Her to Heaven,
Yeah.
because there's kind of this sense of mystery, this sense of you don't always know what you're dealing with, good or bad.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
think that's also what makes Leave Her to Heaven so incredibly powerful, especially
Uh-huh.
the famous boat scene. Because
Right.
at first you're like, is she really gonna do that?
Oh,
Oh boy, she's really gonna you kind of
Uh-huh.
go through these beats in this scene of like thinking, I can't believe this is gonna happen, and she's gonna sit here and let this happen. And
yes.
I'm not gonna spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but you know what I mean? There's kind of this mysterious veil around her. And I love the Ghost in Mrs. Muir. In fact, I need to rewatch that.
Oh, I just love it.
Oh, my gosh. The one thing about that movie, and some Hollywood movies really did this well, they had not just a romance at the heart of them, but a tenderness. You don't see
Mhm.
tenderness, if that makes sense, in films today.
I think people don't expect it. They expect them to be harder. A little bit without without tenderness, but to get to I agree. I think that watching film noir is just really, it's soothing.
I love it. It makes me.
Mhm.
And also the Shanghai gesture. I mean, there's Joseph von Sternberg, Shanghai gesture. There's so many times when she just radiates. Also, in addition to radiating mystery, she had an exotic look. I mean, she was
Uh-huh.
born in Brooklyn and came from Irish descent, but something about her could pass for extremely exotic with the shape of her eyes, and
Yes.
she had the right, hair and makeup and outfit.
Uh-huh.
And it's easy to see why she would have been cast in roles of that nature at the time.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Let's see if there's any more comments. Especially sometimes I'll be like, oh, there's not that many more comments. And then I log off and 10 minutes later, there's a series of comments. And I'm like, wait a minute. So, let's see here.
This is her. I'll see if I can hold it up. Oh, well, this is here. This doesn't matter. This is Colorado. I had her obituary from,
Oh yeah, let's do some show and tell. So show us some of your Gene Tierney memorabilia. Okay.
can you read that? It says Gene Tierney dies at Houston home at age 70. And this is not from the Houston paper. It has a picture of her. She's kind of older looking there. And it just talked about it. I'm thought that my sister has the one from the Houston Chronicle, I'm pretty sure. But it talks about her sister and her Leave Her to Heaven and Laura and all the things. But yeah, I think that she is buried in Houston. If she died there, I'm pretty sure she's buried there too.
I have to go to findagrave.com to confirm, but I think that is true. I think that is true. And do you have any other things that may have been from Gene or remind you of Gene?
Oh, geez, let's see. I'm trying to see if she left me some notes in them. See, this is this book of the hat. I don't think I have anything in here that was. I thought I had a note in here from her, but I don't. Oh, this is funny. This is my mother.
Okay.
Fitting Gene in a suit she's making.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that funny?
Very cool.
Well, it was so fun for my mother to sew for somebody who loved fabric and design. And if she was going to go somewhere, she wanted mother to make it.
Well, Gene had impeccable taste. I mean, Oleg, by the way, for those who don't know, I mean, he went on to design for Jacqueline Onassis for Grace
Yes.
Kelly. I mean, he was considered one of the finest designers in America, and he even had a cameo in one of Gene's movies. So he was very, very.
My mother copied a couple of things of his for me. Little, the little dresses that went here and the sleeveless, that whatever. And then for my senior prom, she did that one too. A dress that was very Oleg. Good Lord, I don't know what happened to all those clothes.
Oh man, it kills me. I wish I knew. Oh my God.
Uh-huh.
I love vintage fashion. And I think back then things were made so beautifully. There was so much craftsmanship and detail. And in our world today, I feel like it's kind of cranked out in sweatshops and factories.
Right.
And unless you can afford couture or custom made, you don't
Yeah.
get that same level of quality
That's
that
true.
used to be kind of standard.
Yes. Well, it was lovely for my mother to be able to, because she created and designed things for a long time, just in her sewing room and all of that. But she loved fabric, she loved design, and for her to have somebody like Gene and some of the other friends of hers, some of the oil people's wives, she said, they don't know how to dress. I got to change this. They have to say, that's not cool. This is cool. And it was so nice to be able to watch my mother create. And Jean was one of the most appreciative of my mother's work. I mean, she would do anything for my mother. When she hurt her finger, I told you, she came in and mother was laying out the stuff and doing it all. And Jean would say, I'm doing the handwork. You sit and watch me and tell me exactly what you want me to do. And Jean knew how to do the handwork, and mother's hand didn't work as well. So Jean she was lovely person.
A lot of stars you hear mixed things about at best sometimes, but Jean is one of those stars that you never hear anything mean about her. You never hear that she showed up late. You never hear that she argued with you. Like, you never hear any stories
No.
about Jean being bad to work with, difficult,
Yes.
unkind. Like, you never, ever hear that. And believe me, that is rare in this town. So
yes, it is.
Jean's definitely very unique in that regard.
Yeah. Boy, my childhood's flashing back here. Actually, I knew her mostly in my early teen till.
What years are we talking? 70s, 80s, or?
Well, I am about to turn 78.
Okay.
And I'm only 5 feet, so I look younger. But so that was probably 60s, 60, 61, 62, 63, 60, and I got married in 67. And maybe I don't know if I knew her quite in high school, so that was 62. But after that, she just started when she moved and married Howard. She was in Houston, and she found my mother pretty quick. What a joy! What a joy for my mother to have that in her life too. Somebody who so appreciated her, and she appreciated good work.
Well, I find sometimes in life, I know this certainly happens in Hollywood, people will be your friend if they think they can get something from you, they think there's something to be gained, and then if not, they're gone. And maybe it was really nice for Gene to meet someone who, they're not trying to be an actress, they're not trying to be famous, they're just happy to be in her company.
Yeah, and if she was going by the house and she thought about something, she'd stop and say, what are we doing today? Can I help you with anything? Especially because she knew mother would rather be in that sewing room than anywhere else. She was very thoughtful. She was a very thoughtful, kind person.
It's really beautiful. I mean, again, you don't hear that kind of stuff that often, always about others. So that's really nice to know that she was that.
Yeah, she was lovely.
Let's see if there's any more new comments here. Is Tina still alive, and do you still speak to her?
Tina had died. She got she lived in Paris. She moved to Paris and she was living there, and she got some kind of illness when she was probably in her late 20s, but I can't count that. I could look it up and things, but I remember being shocked because she was younger than me, and she had gotten ill and died, and I cannot remember what it was. I bet I could look it up, but I remember being shocked because she was younger than me, and boom, she was gone.
Krista, thank you for that question. Laura Gabriel, well, she's come through for me and posted Tina's obituary for Daria. So Laura, if you don't mind, I'm going to read this.
Oh, good, great.
My loving sister Daria Cassini ended her journey on September 11th, 2010, just prior to her 67th birthday on October 15th. She will always be remembered in the thoughts and prayers of our mothers and our fathers' families, Gene Tierney, Lee, and Oleg Cassini, and in the hearts of my 4 children and 6 grandchildren. And
That's right. The 4 children, I forgot about those. Yes.
wow,
Oh.
that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
And Benjamin is reminding us Marilyn Monroe wore at least 2 of Gene's movie costumes. Benjamin, I'd love to know which ones those were, if you have that handy.
Uh-huh.
That's really, Ruth Munsack wanting to know, did Gene have any personal favorite of her movies? And you weren't sure, or?
I can't remember her talking about them too much. It always, when she talked about them, it had to do, she always talked about who she was co-starring with and how much she adored them. And that's all I can remember much about that. I don't remember, let's see. No, I can't remember. She was very close to her father, Howard or something.
From what I've read about it, the father situation was very complicated because Gene was under the impression they had money and they had this really great life. And then she comes back from school in Switzerland and comes home and finds out that they're broke.
Yeah.
Correct me if I get any of this wrong.
No, this sounds right. Yeah.
And then she starts acting and he starts managing her money. And then she finds out he's taking her money.
Taking it. That's right. I forgot about that.
Finds
Yeah.
out he's having an affair with another woman. I believe she actually caught them like together and figured it out. And so it's a lot of stress and a lot going on at a very early age. And do we even know what her diagnosis was when she had the breakdown and she had the problems?
Oh, it's been so long, I can't remember.
I forget. It's probably in the book, and it's slipping my mind right now. But
it is, and I cannot remember because I had moved away, and wasn't in Houston hardly ever, except 2 times a year.
Yeah, it's just I think that I don't think they had even though the Menninger Clinic existed, I don't think we had as clear of an understanding back then as we do today. I still don't feel like there is enough understanding or kindness or compassion. I think there is such a stigma behind these issues. Because if you tell someone you have like a terrible disease, it's like, oh no. But then if you say, oh, you're struggling with whatever it is, people kind of, you know what I mean? I don't think people, the general public, I mean, really kind of recognize even to this day how difficult that can be to struggle with and so ultimately live with.
Right. Yes.
So Krista Lawler is pointing out there are a lot of similarities in Gene Tierney's life and Dorothy Dandridge's life.
And who's?
Dandridge. Both had children with disabilities and felt very guilty about it, which they should never feel guilty about. That. But again, I think maybe that was a time where, I don't know, I've known a lot of people over the years, especially older, that maybe they did the blame game. Like, what did you do to deserve that? And it's like, things happen all the time that people don't deserve. So, I think that's kind of a harmful thing to act as if anyone's ever deserved that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
And let's see, Benjamin says a red gown from On the Riviera and one from Where the Sidewalk Ends. Marilyn wore them in photo sessions and wore the red one to an awards ceremony. Gene thought it was too tight for her and gave it to Cassini's salon, which is where Marilyn bought it.
Wow, yeah.
That's a really interesting piece of fashion history. Thank you, Benjamin. I've learned something today. I did not know that. So I think you mentioned it, but just in case, because people are still logging in here, what were your all-time favorite Gene Tierney movie?
I like the one Leave Her to Heaven and Laura. Oh my God, Laura.
I am so lucky. I feel like living in LA, I am like the most spoiled cinephile in the world because we have nitrate for the projection here and a couple of
Oh,
theaters.
sure, yeah.
I've gotten to see both Leave Her to Heaven and Laura in nitrate.
Uh-huh.
And that is like a whole different ballgame because it really is how these movies were seen originally. And it just has this shimmer to it that is,
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
sometimes it's almost gas inducing. You're just sitting there like,
Uh-huh.
you know, like almost like you can't believe it. It's just so exquisitely beautiful.
Uh-huh.
And I feel very, very fortunate that I've gotten to behold so many movies here in Los Angeles in that way. And it's just such a joy, you know.
Uh-huh.
Looking through her filmography here, yeah, she made so many good ones. I mean, it really is true. But I think probably like the early 40s through the early 50s, that was kind of probably her best run.
Yes,
right
yes.
there.
I'm trying to think of what her last movie was.
I'm looking it up right now because it's so hot in my kitchen. I'm kind of spacing on things right now, which is bad. The TV series Scruples from 1980. It says here.
Oh,
And then she did a TV movie in 1969 called Daughter of the Mind. And a few TV things, but I think The Pleasure Seekers from 1964 was a comedy musical. That was like the last thing I think officially feature film wise she appeared in.
uh-huh.
And it's hard because a lot of actors and actresses, it's hard to have these careers that last 30, 40, 50 something years. I mean, a lot of them, they have a peak, they have a plateau, and they have a fall.
Uh-huh.
And if you look at so many Hollywood filmographies, there's usually anywhere from a 5 to 10 to 15 year peak where they're just at the absolute top of the game. And then it's kind of up and down, or just straight down. It just depends, or just completely cuts off. Some of them make really horrible movies just to keep working. Some of them kind of slowly make stuff periodically and have ups and downs. And then some, like say Norma Shearer or Greta Garbo, they just walked away and that kind of is it.
Right.
So there's so many different ways the different stars kind of chose to move forward. But, and if anyone also wants to learn more about Gene's life, most of these films are on DVD that we've talked about today.
Uh-huh.
And also there is the Gene Tierney A&E biography called Gene Tierney Shattered Portrait. You can find that available on YouTube. It's like they cut it up in like 4 or 5
It's
parts.
on YouTube, and what is it called? I'm gonna do it.
Called Gene Tierney Shattered Portrait.
Yes. I've
Yeah,
seen-
and it's kind of cut up in like 4 or 5 bits or something, but you can watch that on YouTube if you want to see like, because I remember when I was in college in the 90s, A&E biography was like the coolest channel at the time because besides TCM, because they had movie star documentaries about their lives like all the time. And that was like a very common thing. Boy, I miss that. And yeah, they did a whole A&E biography on Gene Tierney.
Oh, I'm gonna have to look that up. I don't believe that I've seen that. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And yeah, it's definitely a really, really great movie. The Return of Frank James, 1940. Okay, that was her film debut. All right, that I knew it was with Henry Fonda, and I was
With Henry, yes.
basing on that. But yes, so all right, I'll see if we have any more questions here. So you don't think Gene cooked that much, and you just remember?
I wouldn't be, I wasn't inside her. They lived in a house first when we knew him, and then they moved into this like big apartment complex. And I would go over there, but I don't remember her cooking. Mom would drop us off to swim in her pool or whatever. But I don't remember going into the kitchen with her. I have no idea if she was a chef or cooked at all. I wonder who would know that. Gee, if Tina was still alive, I would call her.
Okay. Let's see.
I just cannot remember.
It's okay. Well, I don't think we have any more questions, but if we do, I will ask you if we can. Are you on Facebook, Libby, or?
Yeah, I do Facebook. Yeah.
Okay, if you wanted to be on my page afterward, if people have questions for you, you could always answer.
And how do I get on your page? Oh, I just click the Facebook thing up here.
I'll send you a link.
Oh, good. Thank you. Yeah, I'll do that and I'll watch.
Sure. But I think in spite of all of this is always my takeaway, because I think this happens a lot with Marilyn and some of the other stars too. There's almost this sense of fetishizing the tragedy of their lives, to where almost people want to wallow in it and just
Yeah.
log it to death almost, you know? And
Uh-huh.
to me, people's lives are so complicated and they're so nuanced and there's so much more than on the surface. And I think in the case of Gene Tierney, I mean, yes, she had terrible tragedies in her life, hardships, there's no question. But I think she gave and gave so much as an actress and clearly as a person.
Right.
So I think at the end of the day, she fought for and to a degree got the measure of happiness.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think for me, that's kind of the takeaway here. Is
Uh-huh.
that, you know, yes, horrible things happen. They happen to most of us. But
Uh-huh.
I think Jean struggled and she ultimately was able to rise above that.
I know several times hearing her, only a few times talking about Daria, and it broke her heart. For the whole life of Daria. I mean, she was really good to her and everything, but it was like, and Oleg, she lived with Oleg. No, Tina lived with Oleg for a while, but Jean kept, Daria had to go into a kind of a center and Jean was right there all the time. But I know that was her greatest sadness. It would be anybody's.
I would think so as well. But I hope that Daria was able to have a life of comfort and love in spite of the circumstances.
Right. Yeah.
And I always say this to people on my cemetery tours that I give at Hollywood Forever. I always say, you know, I can show you graves and I can tell you stories, but the movies are how they live on. Ultimately, that is their legacy, and that is their gift to every one of us.
That's beautiful.
And we're so lucky to live in a world where there is streaming, there is DVD, Blu-ray, the Criterion channel, and of course, classic movies. So as far as I know, most of Jean's film career, and I have a ton of it in the other room, is available on DVD. So I really hope that if people are not familiar with her work, they will discover it. And
that's a beautiful thought. If you haven't seen everything of hers, you should go try to find them because they're all a little bit different. And her, it's just everything I've seen of hers is just a little bit different. It's different. It's not the same.
Definitely. Let's take one more look at the questions. Yes, Crystal Lawler says they are not tragic figures, they are survivors.
Woo! Yes,
Krista, I agree with you, Krista. That is a beautiful thought. Wow. And we should do another one in the future when I can use my stove, because I do want to make Jean's cheesecake recipe. It's just I couldn't bear when it
how
came.
How did you find it?
Well, there is a book from the 1950s. I can go grab it if you want.
Okay.
I'll grab it in the other room. Be right back. Okay.
Look at this.
There is a book from the 1950s. I have a first edition copy. Thank you to Mimi Pond. And it's called Stars in Your Kitchen.
Oh, isn't that cool?
And the Gene Tierney cheesecake recipe is right here on page number 105.
Oh my goodness. Oh, wow.
And also my friends in the UK, Jenny Hammerton and Peter Fuller, they did a book which is so clever. It's all about Vincent Price's cooking and recipes.
Oh, wow.
And they pair all these recipes with Vincent's co-stars recipes.
Oh, yes.
So there's a whole section.
She was so fond of him. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, me too. There's a whole section where they talk about Gene Tierney and they talk about her work with Vincent Price, and they republished the cheesecake recipe. It's just, I could have tried a no bake, but I thought, well, I want to do it Gene's way, but I can't bear to use my stove right now. I literally even got the stuff for the test bake, and then I just had a
oh, wow.
Oh my god. But yeah, we'll have to do another episode when I can get the weather to be better and I can actually use my stove for something other.
Oh, yes, yeah.
All right. So any final thoughts on Jean? Anything you'd like to end with or discuss?
Well, I just that she was like a lovely real person that was like a surrogate aunt. And she brought a lot of smiles, and she appreciated my mother's work so much. It was a beautiful part of mother's life. And mother sewed for a lot of famous doctors' wives and things, only when they wanted something really fine. Mother would to do the tailoring because she had 4 kids to raise, but she loved that. And Jean came by when she knew mother was working on something, but her finger hurt or she just needed help. Jean would pick up, would start stitching hems and things. I mean, she was lovely. So those are my memories, sweet memories of her being a special person to my mom.
Well, Libby, this has been so fun. Thank you so much for sharing your
Well,
memories.
this was made my day.
Hey, thank you for sharing your memories of Jean. I definitely want to do another episode when the weather's better and make her cheesecake.
Okay.
And
Okay.
thank you so much to everybody out there watching. I'm so grateful. And I do have a little Patreon. All proceeds help to buy ingredients and equipment and all that good stuff. And I hope you will watch these movies and please appreciate the incredible film legacy that Jean has left us.
Yes.
And stay tuned for more food, fun, and film history from Hollywood.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Libby, and thank you, Michelle, for hooking us up.
Yes.
Bye-bye, everybody. We'll talk very soon.
Okay. Bye-bye. Let's see, Facebook recording. Oh, you get to turn it off. I'm trying to figure that out.